What happens when love and music intertwine? Find out in Lee Adams' newest release, Love on Tour. Set against the backdrop of a thrilling concert tour, this story explores passion, heartbreak, and finding your true melody. Perfect for anyone who believes in second chances and unforgettable moments. Don't miss out. Pre-order your copy at leeadamsbooks.com today and be part of the story that will rock your world.
Hey everyone, it's Rich Bennett. Can you believe it? The show is turning 10 this year. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who've tuned in, shared an episode, or even joined the conversation over the years. You're the reason that this podcast has grown into what it is today. Together, we've shared laughs, tears, and moments that truly matter. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make the next 10 years even better.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch transfer.
I never played softball. It's probably the least sexy part of organizing. It's okay. No. The truth is.
Today on Conversations with Rich Bennett, I'm joined by the remarkable Katharine Giovanni, a 3-time award-winning, best-selling author, international speaker, and forgiveness and transformation coach. As a 12-year breast cancer survivor and someone who has overcome intense struggles, including a dark moment in her youth, Katharine brings an incredible depth of wisdom and compassion to the topic of healing. Her latest book, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power, introduces a truly unique system that helps people let go of pain and reclaim their power through the transformative act of forgiveness. And she's here today to share how forgiveness isn't just a concept. It's a life-changing journey. All right, I want to start at the beginning. So what, and I don't mean when you came out of the womb. What actually led you to create your unique forgiveness system? And how did your own life experiences shape it?
Well, the fact that I call myself a forgiveness coach probably implies the universe has provided me with an overabundance of things to forgive. Kind of how it works. Mm-hmm. So it started probably when I was believe it or not, it started in the 8th grade. I was raised by some alcoholic parents, and I was terribly bullied in school because I was different. And I tried to commit suicide in the 8th grade. It was 1974. Let's just out myself how old I am. And so I turned into one of those teenagers, you know, the kids I'm talking about. And I just kind of floated through life until my mother, bless her heart, fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she lied out. And we sent her to rehab. And then we spent the next 3 years closer than sisters. I mean, we were tighter than tight. We practically finished each other's sentences. She got sober. We forgave each other. It was great. And then she died of breast cancer.
Oh, God.
Which I later got in 2012. And everybody's life has what I call flashpoints. You don't know it's a flashpoint when you're going through it, but when you look back, hindsight's 20/20, and you can see it, and that was mine. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt, if I didn't change my life, I was going to die. Right. So I quit drinking, which is the only New Year's resolution I ever actually kept. Been sober now for 35 years.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. When you go through that, you have to go through, well, a lot of us go through AA and that kind of thing. And they want you to do something called make amends. And back in those days, I was really shy. And if we had had technology like texting, I would have easily texted these people happily, but we didn't. There was no tech. You had a choice. You either called these people up on the phone and risk getting yelled at, or you had to see them in person. Those were the two choices.
And that phone wasn't a camera at the time.
No, which was great, but you still had to listen to them. So I stumbled on the first part of our system by accident. I decided to forgive these people in the privacy of my apartment in New York City. And I did it all by myself. See, the thing about forgiveness is everybody tells you to forgive your pastor, your parents, your teachers. Okay, how? How?
Right.
Nobody teaches you how. And then on a 10 scale, with 10 being an unforgivable dumpster fire and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, every single person listening to this broadcast right now is thinking of their number 10 person, which is completely fair because they're the ones that wrecked you the most. And that's why their brain goes there. That's why nobody wants to forgive. Nobody wants to talk about it because you're thinking of the dumpster fire. But I'm the only one in the world that's going to look you in the eye and says, you don't have to forgive the unforgivable. Why? Stay with me.
Don't have to.
Because there are so many people, places, and things. I did say places and things. Stay with me. Don't click off. That you can forgive before you even get to that person. In other words, I'm going to have you, my system, which is a 7-part system. It's a step-by-step system. If I can get the word out. I'm going to start you with the easy ones. And you're going to work your way up to the dumpster fire. And we're going to talk about how to forgive the unforgivable in a minute. But that's how it started. It was started with that flashpoint, and one thing led to another, and I went into the concierge industry, and on and on and on it goes. But forgiveness has always been the core of everything I've done. And even when I was in business, I stumbled back by at the turn of the century. Damn, that makes me sound so old when I say that. Gotta stop wording it that way. But around the turn of the century, at the risk of sounding really ancient, like Jughead's jalopy, I discovered that the more people I forgave in my personal life, the more the money my company would make, because I'm a serial entrepreneur. And I'm a college girl, and I thought, forgiving my personal life, my parents and other people, why is that affecting my company's bottom line? Yet it was. There was a direct correlation, and that's kind of how the journey all started. That was kind of the building blocks of it, to how I got to here.
Okay, first of all, stop saying that you're old because we're the same age. Okay, age is nothing but a number. Okay, think about it. We grew up in the best generation. First of all, we had the best music
of anything we did.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
We had the best music. There was nothing like it. So, I didn't realize that you were in recovery yourself.
I am. I was.
That
I'm sober.
You are, yeah. I mean, that's awesome. But you mentioned something, and I want to jump ahead.
Oh, there's a lot to unpack with my story. Take your pick.
Why would something or someone be unforgivable?
You know, it has to do the unforgivable. Let me back up before I talk about the unforgivable.
Okay.
Let me squash some things some ideas that people have some misconceptions about.
Okay.
First of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you.
Right.
I probably don't. I have barriers in place. I don't want to have dinner. I don't want to go to that party. I forgive you, but I don't want a relationship. Mm-hmm. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean you were right and I was wrong. It doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass all of a sudden.
Right.
You're still wrong. You're still a dumpster fire. You probably still have to make amends. I still don't want you in my life. The formal definition for me simply means I want you out of my head. That's it. Mm-hmm. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. And when I'm wandering around living my life, I don't want to be triggered anymore. And I have people say to me all the time, you know, Katharine, I have done the work. I have forgiven them. But I keep getting triggered and I keep getting angry again because I go back to Thanksgiving and I have to see these people and I get angry again. How do I stop getting triggered?
Interesting.
And that's the secret sauce to the whole thing. It's energy. You keep getting triggered because you didn't forgive the energy. Einstein and I will get to the unforgivable. Einstein clearly proved energy is neither created nor destroyed. It simply transforms from one thing to another.
Right.
When you get angry, everybody assumes, and most people don't even think about it, when the anger leaves your mouth, it dissipates into the universe, kind of like a radio wave.
Mm-hmm.
It does not.
Mm-mm.
It hangs around your energy field and will stay there until you clear it. Science has also proved that everything on our planet has an energy field around it, including this little silver microphone that I'm talking into. It has an energy field around it, and it also will stay there.
Right.
So that's why you keep getting triggered, because you didn't clear the energy. So the affirmation, and I'm going to go through the step-by-step system, but the affirmation I want you to say is, I completely forgive Martha. I don't have an Aunt Martha in my life. It's a very safe name. I completely forgive Martha. I forgive the energy around Martha. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire relationship. And so it is. Go with God. Amen. Say whatever you want. That's I'm starting from the middle, to be honest. That's the middle piece of the whole thing. But that's the thing. It's the energy that you didn't clear. That's why you're being invisibly tied to the one person you don't want to be tied to. So when it comes to the unforgivable, they're a bear. They're a bear. That's why I want you to save them for last. I want you to do the easy ones. The person who took your parking space at the grocery store yesterday, you could forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
How about your Super Bowl team that lost? Enough time has gone by. I think you can forgive them now. How about the person who stole your sandwich out of the lunchroom at work yesterday? You can forgive that person, we hope. Come on, that's being a little petty. You can forgive that. Or you can put a hot pepper in it next tomorrow and see what happens, and you'll know who did it. Right?
Ooh.
Put a ghost pepper in there. No, don't do that. That would be mean. I have a really dark sense of humor. I want you to start with the easy people.
Right.
And, these are the people you have no problem forgiving.
So with that, because you talked about the energy, and we all know that negative energy is always stronger than the positive energy. It just hangs there.
Yep.
But you mentioned about, forgiving and all that. But what about why? Shouldn't we also say why we forgive them?
All right, there's some science to that. The why is very interesting, because there's another thing that people bandy around without even thinking about it. And people will look at you dead in the eye and say, anger is toxic. Mm-hmm. Okay, why? How? I agree that anger is toxic. It's going to give me stress kills, give you heart attacks, strokes. I understand that. How? Don't tell me that without giving me a little bit more. Well, there was a study done in Japan called the Japanese Water Study. And if you just Google that, it'll pop right up. And the guy's name was Hasumoto, something like that. Anyways, in the interest of time, I'll say it fast. He studied water, and he took several containers of water. One container of water, all he did was talk to it. And he said beautiful, loving, gorgeous words to this water. The other container of water, absolute hate, garbage, the worst things he could say to anybody, he said to this water. He then froze the water and put it under a microscope. The water he spoke love to had these gorgeous transformations, these crystal kind of things. The water he spoke hate to had these black and brown kind of sludgy formations. It looked like it was kind of going into itself, these malformations. Why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So if your self-talk is bad, if you are holding anger in your heart that's been there for decades, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your own body? You're literally making yourself sick from the inside out. And what forgiveness does, it's literally transforming those water cells from dark to light. And it's going to open up your life. You're going to start to feel better. Coffee is going to start to smell better. I mean, it's like, and I know I can talk people through this. It's a visual, but I'll talk you. I'm holding a purple coffee cup to the right side of my body. This cup represents anger and hate and all of these things. Maybe I'm holding a grudge. But when I first get angry, I can hold it off to the side of my body. Look, I can manage my anger really easily. But humans irritate other humans, don't they? And if you don't take anything out of this cup, you're going to keep putting more anger, more resentment, more bias all into this cup. Eventually, it's going to get heavy. So now I have to use 2 hands to hold up the cup. My life hasn't stopped. You and I can still have a conversation, but look at my body language. Now I'm using 2 hands. It's kind of chipping me up. It's getting into my head now. And if I don't forgive at all, eventually it's all I can think about and all I can see. I'm holding the cup in front of my body right now. I can't see you anymore. I'm missing things. I'm missing opportunities, money-making opportunities, opportunities to get healthy, opportunities to live a better life, get that dream house, that dream apartment. Why? Because I'm so focused on the anger, I can't see anything else. And I'm starting to get sick and tired because the water cells in my body are all turning. That's why you want to forgive. It's literally going to open up your life. And by starting with the easy ones, it's going to allow your anger to go from in front of your body over to the side again. Now look at my body language. Now my life is opened up. I'm seeing opportunities. I'm seeing things. And I haven't forgiven my unforgivables yet. I've only done the easy ones.
Huh.
Now we can talk about the unforgivable, now that I've stopped that.
No, all that's interesting. And the thing with the water, it makes sense with the water because, and you're just, for example, the people that do the crystal Reiki, and all it does is just releases all them toxins.
That's right. They're talking about the energy in the water cells. It's really what they're transforming. They're transforming those cells. Your body is 95% water. That you're working with energy that's shifting those cells.
I guess that's also why people feel better when they start losing weight for a good reason, not because they're sick.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, damn, that makes a lot of sense now.
And that's why some people don't want to lose weight. With all due respect, don't email me. It's because they're holding on to the anger. There's a reason why they're eating their troubles. So when this system will help you lose weight, there's a reason to buy the book. It will help you lose weight. There you go.
Okay, so your system is teaching people how to forgive other people and how to forgive things. Mm-hmm. Does it also teach them how to forgive themselves?
Yes, this is the first book of 3, and I have a co-author. One of my best friend is co-authoring the next one with me, and this one is going to be, we're writing it now, and this one's going to focus on how to forgive yourself. We're going to take a deep dive into it. Well, I can talk about it now, and it's going to take a very deep dive into the unforgivable and how to forgive money. Hello.
Ooh.
So that should be out later this year. But the system, I want you all to sit down with a pad of paper and a pen. I know that sounds old-fashioned, and I know you want to reach for your laptop, your PC, whatever. But there was a study done at Harvard University, and they studied these kids, right? And they followed the kids through the years, and they told half the class to just say their goals out loud to the room. The other half were told to write them down. They followed the kids through the years, and the kids who wrote their goals down were twice as successful as the kids who didn't. So something magical happened.
Right.
I also want people to do something really, really hard. There's an off button on your cell phone, and I would love you to turn your phone off. Now, if you're visibly twitching at the thought of turning your phone off, there's another magic button, and it's called the mute button. Don't vibrate, because then when it dances in your desk, you're going to want to look at it. I just want you alone in a room. All humans beside the dog have to be out. Little humans, big humans. I want you alone in a room. Okay? And then I want you to write down all the people you think you need to forgive. And the first 3 are going to be the people you would label a number 10. So these would be the unforgivable. The people that hurt you the most are probably the people you're going to write down first. The obvious ones. But I want you to keep going. I want you to think about when you were a kid in the sandbox. I want you to just write without thought. I want you to just use your intuition, that gut feeling, and just write a list of names. Don't judge the names. If you write down the name Bob and you don't remember the name Bob, well, obviously they're going to be an easy one. Just write it down. And then I want you to rate these people from 1 to 10, 10 being unforgivable, 1 being super easy. Now, you could have 20 number 7s. I really don't care. You could skip a number. I also don't care. What I really care about is you start with the 1s. I want you to look at that first person. And then I want you, remember, you're alone in the room. Nobody's there. It's not like a recovery program where you have to reach out and talk to these people. You do not. You don't even have to tell anybody you're doing this. You do it in the privacy of your own home. Forgiveness is selfish. That being said, you can forgive dead people because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick because they're alive and well in your head. So if you didn't get closure with your parents and you're still mad, write their names down. Obviously, they're a 10. Family really messes you up, right? And I want you to look at that number 1 person, and I want you to imagine they're standing in front of you. Now, if you're thinking of somebody you went to high school with, I want you to see the kid in front of you, not the adult that you might know today. I want the kid, the original kid. And then say anything you like. Get it out. Yell, scream, cry, laugh. I don't care. Say whatever you want. If it's a level 1 person, you're probably not going to say anything at all because it's really easy. Put your hand in your heart, and that's really just to remind you to say the words from your heart because the words are just from us. It's really the energy. Say the affirmation that I said before, and there's worksheets and stuff in the book. And then once you say that affirmation, check in with your body. Is the level 1 person a 0? Great. Cross their name off. Was it a level 3 person and they're now a 2? Okay, you're still a little angry? Okay, put a 2 there, wait 24 hours, do it again. This happened to a really close friend of mine. It was a level 4 person. She did this exercise and she checked in with her body and it shot up to a 10. She was really mad. I saw it.
Wow.
It in her face. What happened? Your brain is the most amazing tool and it protects you. And there's a closet in the back of your brain that's been padlocked for decades. And in that closet is a movie that's been playing in your mind. You would turn it off if you knew it was there. You didn't know it was there. And what you just did is you said the magic secret code. And your brain said, ooh, Katharine's ready for this closet. And it opened up the brain and flooded you with memories that you didn't even know was there. Forgiveness is like an onion. You just really, what you did is you cleared that first layer of the onion. Well, there's a lot of layers underneath.
Right.
So this is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't get a number 10 person down to a 1 overnight. Not going to happen. This is something that you're going to have to chip away at. And the 10s are a bear, but there's a way to forgive the unforgivable. Now I can answer that question.
Well, but before the unforgivable, and I think this is something a lot of people don't realize, and I've gotten into arguments with people about this, and I've just said, just forgive them. And they're like, I can't forgive them. I always go back to the man on the cross.
Right.
And my thing is, we're not saying forget, but forgive.
Okay, that's another thing that people say.
I knew you were going to say it.
Don't forget. Okay, I'm originally from New York City, and I can promise you with 100% guarantee that none of us forget. We don't forget. It's in our DNA. We're not forgetting anything.
No.
What I can promise you is when you do this system, it's going to remove the emotional charge. So you can look at that person. You're not going to care good. You're not going to care bad. You're not going to care. That's neutral. Remember, I forgave I've had a lot of business partners. I've been around a long time, and I saw this person's name on Facebook one day. And usually that would send me flying for a couple of days because the memory would come back. This particular day, I do practice what I preach. And I had put her on my forgiveness list, and I forgave her. I got her all the way down to a 1. I mean, I literally tossed it. And I saw her name. I didn't care. Even wished her a happy birthday. And I actually stopped myself, and I caught it. And I thought, wait a minute. I don't care. I don't care. That's freedom. That's joy. It is out of your head. Now, what is that going to do for the person? Not a darn thing. They're still awful. They're still doing whatever they're going to do. But you are free. You're absolutely free.
You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back. I want to take a moment to talk about something really exciting. See, we love partnering with reputable businesses, companies that are making a difference, providing top-notch services, and building trust in their communities. And if that sounds like you, I want to invite you to become a sponsor. Sponsoring the podcast and Harford County Living isn't just about advertising. It's about real connections. You'll get premium exposure across our podcast, websites, and social media, putting your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience. And here's the best part. Right now, we have limited sponsorship spots available for the year. And if you pay annually, you'll get 25% off. You heard me right. 25% off. And you're going to love this even more. That rate is locked in for the lifetime of your sponsorship. So even if those levels go up 5-10 years from now, you're paying what you pay now. That's it. So if you're looking for a strategic way to grow your business and reach the right people, let's talk. Email me at richbennett@danben.com. That's DANBEN.com. And let's make 2025 an unforgettable year for your brand and into the future. And the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that this also helps with your mental health.
Oh, 100% it does.
With the anxiety, depression, oh my God.
Well, here's how
it's like that old saying, it's lifting a ton of bricks off your shoulders.
Well, that's when people forgive. That's what my older son does this on a regular basis. And when he forgives somebody that's really big, he says his shoulders feel lighter. Some people feel energy leave their body. Some people are really, really tired. So I really want you to do this at night before you go to bed. And I don't want you to do more than 10 at a time, because remember those water cells. Listen, I practice what I preach, and I used myself as a guinea pig, and I did my list. There must have been 50 people, overachieved.
Right.
I know that's a shocker. And I wrote down, and I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to be like a butterfly. I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, and this stuff is all going to be gone. Okay, the universe has a really good sense of humor, and it did not end up the way I thought it would. I did forgive a lot of people on the list. This is true. I also ended up in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu for 3 days. Remember the water cells, people. Your body heals itself when it's sleeping. And if you do 10 or one number 10 high-level person, it's one or the other, your body can mitigate that energy and will clear it while you're sleeping. But if you do more than that, you're going to get a Native American Indian taught this to me about 20 years ago. They called it energy sickness, which means there's too much toxic energy in your body and your body has to toss it. And one of the ways it does it is, well, like eating a piece of bad fish. And you're not sick and you don't have the stomach flu. It's just your body's way of tossing it. Most people get tired. Some people feel the energy. Some people get hungry or thirsty. But do it before bed or at least right after dinner so you have a couple of hours. Not everybody can just go to bed right away.
Do you think that somebody can get to the point to where there is nobody left for them to forgive? But you mentioned earlier about forgiving some things.
I did. I have literally written a book on this. And I still practice this every night before I go to bed. Humans irritate other humans. There's always something to forgive. You can forgive anything. You can forgive politicians, dare I say, not going there. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. But it's going to do brilliant things for you. It's right. CNN, you can forgive it. You know, there's always something to forgive. How about the person who cut you up on I-95 South? You can forgive these people. Now let's talk about the places and things that I was talking about. When you forgive the unforgivable, we'll use the bully in school because it's a really good, and this is one of my own. I wasn't ready to forgive the bully. And I know it happened in the 70s, but you know, it bothers you. You carry it. And I wasn't even ready to forgive the energy around the bully, to be quite honest. I just didn't want to. So I picked apart the memory. It's like going to work and you're driving and you come to a red light. You always go left, but the little bird in your shoulder tells you to go right. So you trust your gut and you go right. That takes you by your old high school. And by the time you get to work, you're grumpy. You had a brilliant morning. It was 70 degrees. You had coffee. It was just a real peaceful, beautiful morning, but you're grumpy. You're cutting off everybody's head. And everybody's saying, what's wrong? Why are you grumpy? And you're like, I don't know. I had a great day. I shouldn't be grumpy. Well, of course you're grumpy because your subconscious saw the high school. You were bullied there. And that closet where that movie played, the movie started in your head. So how do you get rid of the trigger? You forgive the memory. You pull apart the memory. So I forgave my childhood school, the energy around the school. I forgave the desk, the chair. I forgave the classroom. I forgave the playground. I forgave the swings. I'm serious. I forgave the energy around these things. I forgave the people that stood around and didn't help me. The energy around these kids. I forgave New York City. Serious. The energy around New York City. I forgave 1974. I actually sat and said, I completely forgive 1974 and the energy around 1974, because that's the year I tried to commit suicide.
Right.
I pulled apart the memory. And by doing that, I got that number 10 person down to a 9, and I haven't forgiven the person yet.
Oh, wow.
I picked apart the memory. And by that point, I was ready to start making a pass at forgiving the actual bully. Now, it took me weeks and months to get that number 10 person down to a 1. It took me months to get to forgive my father. But eventually I got dad down to like a 1 or a 2, and I was able to forgive him. But I did it by picking apart the memories.
Wow.
You can forgive anything. I had a client who used to have this boss who made her cry, literally made her cry. And every morning when she was getting ready to work, she would cry in the shower because she had a family and she didn't want anybody to know she was crying and she hated going to work. So by the time she came to me, she was a mess. And we did a lot of forgiveness work, and I had her forgive the shower. That's where we started. Forgive the shower and the energy around the shower. That's where we started.
I like that. And thank you for telling me that, because now this gives me something to add to my morning routine.
Yep.
Because I always say a prayer before I get out of bed. I always say a prayer. I always say something that I'm grateful for and why.
Mm-hmm.
Why not forgive something or someone?
That's right.
Ooh, I really like that. All right. So now on to the unforgivable. Sounds like a movie.
Well, the unforgivable, you might be your own unforgivable. But let's take a really interesting unforgivable. Let's use Aunt Martha, because my mother used to say every family is the same, only the names have changed, and every family out there has an Aunt Martha. I do not. That's why I use the name Martha. But she's an alcoholic. And she's a bad, sloppy alcoholic. Oh. And she loves to poke at people. She loves to cause trouble. And she doesn't shower very much, so she smells. And you have to go to Thanksgiving with her every year. And your parents sit you next to her, because I don't know why. You just always end up next to the woman. And it's awful. And it takes you a week to prepare yourself to go. And it takes you 2 weeks to come down from the ceiling after, because she knows where the buttons are. And she pushes them. And she makes you mad. And everybody around just kind of sits around and enjoys the show. And everybody ends up to be a big thing. So what do? You have to go every year. What do? Well, a few months or weeks before you have to go see beautiful Aunt Martha, I want you to start picking apart memories. My Aunt Martha is a 10. You probably don't want to forgive her or the energy around her. You don't even want to be in the same time zone as her. I get it.
Right.
So pick apart the memories. Take one Thanksgiving. Remember where it was. Remember what was served. I want you to forgive the table you sat at, the energy around the table. I want you to forgive the chair, the energy around the chair. I forgive the food, not kidding. Forgive the people that just stood around and watched. Forgive the building, the house that you were in, the room that you were in, the city that you were in. Forgive the grass. Forgive for the driveway. Forgive the car that you had to drive to take you to this horrible place. And then check in with your body. Are you able to make a pass at Aunt Martha? No? Okay. Pick apart another memory and do it again the next night. And by the time you get to Aunt Martha and Thanksgiving, is she going to be forgivable like level 1 or 2? Probably not. But you might have gotten her down to like a 5, 6, 7, which is doable. So by the time you get to Thanksgiving, what's going to happen? Aunt Martha, sadly, is going to be Aunt Martha. She's going to do exactly what you think she's going to do. But your emotional charge is less now. It might even be gone. You won't care. You might even laugh. You might even turn it into a drinking game. And every time she pushes a button, you take a shot. There's a sober person telling you to do that. Right? I've been sober for 35 years. But my whole point is you're going to laugh. You're going to expect it. You're probably going to have comebacks for it. You won't care. You might even just be one of those people that'll just calmly leave the room, which will piss her off. The more you don't react, the more she's going to try. So now, at least for me personally, now it becomes entertainment for me because I know what's happening and I'm going to watch her get upset. And the more upset she gets, the more I'm going to be Susie Sunshine from Sunnybrook Farms. I used to teach customer service, and I'll play it play by play with you, and I'll be Susie Sunshine. And the more angry you get, I'm not going to smile to your face, but in my head, I'm going to be going, "This is kind of interesting." It's going to change. It's going to change the energy of the whole thing. And as you forgive people, your family, your friends, people are going to notice. They're going to come up to you and they're going to say, "Did you lose some weight? There's something different about you. You know, what are you doing?" And you can tell them or not.
You're going to have that glow around you.
You will. But certain things are going to happen when you do this. Yeah. Like energy attracts like energy. So new people are going to be attracted into your life like moths to a flame.
Law of attraction.
And which is really great. But to play devil's advocate, you're going to lose people too. You're going to have the jackrabbits. These are people that have been rolling with you for a very long time. They've been tight and they don't want to change. They see you changing and they take the first door and out they go. I've had a bunch of them in my life and they've ghosted me. I've never heard from them since, ever. Still baffled by it. Then you've got the saboteurs. You usually live with these people. They're family. They're really tight friends. And they're like, "I like the broken Katharine. I like the old you. I don't want her to change." So they're going to try and sabotage it.
Right.
So there's a very, very famous saying that says you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So who are you spending time with? Now you get to choose. You get to choose. Forgiveness is selfish. You're doing it for you. You're not doing it for anybody else. It's never for anybody else. You do it for you. Right. And if you can't forgive this unforgivable person, listen, if you never can forgive the unforgivable, let's say it was a real bad trauma, someone was raped or murdered. I don't know anybody who could forgive that. It takes a special soul to be able to forgive that. That's fine. Forgive what you can in the memory and keep going. If you can circle back later, great. If you never circle back, don't worry about it. Keep going. It's fine.
You help people all the time as well, don't you?
I do, all the time.
All right. So this is something I always love to ask my guests, especially the ones that are helping people. Can you share a feel-good story with us about somebody that you helped? And you don't have to use their name. You can use Aunt Martha again.
There's been a lot of people that have been helped by my forgiveness. And I had somebody call me up, and it was actually a podcaster, and it changed her life so much that and it's happened to a couple podcasters, to be honest. There's been like a dozen of them, and it changes their life so much. You can actually see it in their face, and the whatever they were carrying, whether it was anger at their mother or their father or their best friend or whatever happened, you can literally see them change. Yeah, they're a different person. Their physical symptoms were gone, and she just it was like eating chocolate sundae for the first time. You almost don't know what to do because you don't have that over your head anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like going through something in the courts, And the case finally gets settled, and you walk out, and the sun is out, and you're like, okay, now what do I do? It's over. It's over.
Yeah.
That's how people feel.
Wow. So if somebody needs your help, how do they get in touch with you?
They can go to my website. It's KatharineGiovanni.com. And thanks to my mother, my first name is spelled a little odd. Thanks, Mom. Katharine Giovanni.com. You can also buy the book, and it's on Amazon. I've got the audiobook, the ebook, and the paperback available. And that's right on Amazon. And the audiobook was produced by my younger son, and we're still talking to each other. You know, it's not as easy as you would think to do an audio. I have mad respect for anybody who does voiceover work or does that in movies. You think they go into a studio and they just read a script and then they leave?
Nope. So you did the audio yourself?
I did. I did with my son. I did.
Good.
I have 2 books. Another one is called The Little Bird in Your Shoulder. It's about getting in touch with your intuition. And I did the audiobook for that one too.
Now, are you self-published, or did you go through a publisher for all these?
Well, that's an interesting story.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
We've published, I'm on my 13th book now. I'm actually published 12. Yep. And years ago, we decided to self-publish because we learned that when you publish something with the big houses, it takes 6 months to a year to get your book to press. They can change anything they want within the body of the work because they own the rights, and you only get a small percentage of the profits. So my husband and I, who are both serial entrepreneurs, said, okay, bleep this, being the New Yorkers we were, and we formed our own publishing company called New Road Publishing, which we publish one other person's book, but we actually only do mine now. And it's an actual publishing house. And now we use Ingram Sparks, if anybody's thinking of writing a book. We use Ingram Sparks. And when you're thinking of writing a book, I'll just give you a little bit of help. Everybody thinks, and if you're writing nonfiction, fiction is different. But for nonfiction, you think you have to come up with the title and go chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. No, just write.
Right.
The title comes at the end. Just write. I wrote one of my books in the chemo chair on my cell phone because I was bored.
Really?
Yeah. And I told you, there's a lot to unpack with my story. And the reason I did it is because I kept thinking of these things that I wanted to put into the book. So I would just pick up my phone and I would write what I was thinking. And before I know it, I had a book.
Wow.
That's how you write. You just start writing. And at the end, then you put it into chapters and you put it out there.
I can't even type on the phone. My fat fingers I'm like.
There's audio. You can recite it. You can just,
you know what?
There is software now that you can just talk into the microphone and it will magically write down everything you say. AI would be happy to do that for you.
Catherine, I tried that one time. No, apparently I hit the wrong button and I was talking to somebody. Because they come back like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, huh? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just go into Microsoft Word and there's a
dictate.
There's a dictate thing in there.
Yep.
And and just make sure your Bluetooth's off, but you'll be fine. It doesn't do punctuation though, so you have to make sure you do comma and period.
With everything that you're doing, all the books you're writing, all the people you're helping, all the podcasts that you've been on, how come you don't have your own podcast?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm now committed to my son says I told you before we started the recording, doing 30 videos in 30 days. So
I love that.
That does imply I have to keep doing it after the 30 days, but I am in it to win it. So I'm doing 30 videos in 30 days on 6 platforms. So
all right, what all platforms so I can follow them all? So Facebook,
Instagram, Threads,
TikTok,
LinkedIn, and TikTok. Been on there 4 days. Yay! 64-year-old woman on TikTok. I think it's ridiculous, but people. My sons tell me that.
I had a gentleman on. You get a chance, look him up, David Griffiths,
I will.
and He is a social media influencer, and he's our age.
Oh, I love that. So the boys were right. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think about it.
They were very insistent I'd be on TikTok.
How old is the person that more or less invented the internet?
Oh, they're probably in their 70s at this point. And hey, listen,
Right.
people, our generation taught you how to use a spoon. I'm just saying.
But it was also our generation that really created social media, if you think about it.
I was teaching people via video and Zoom before anybody knew what Zoom was. I was doing teaching people how to start a business, and I was doing it like 20, 25 years ago.
And remember AOL chat?
Yep, I remember if you're a musician, you remember the noise that came. The time you were logging on, you could get coffee and a sandwich, and we thought it was it was so slow. And the computers were massive. I learned how to use a computer, and the thing was the size of a room. It was 19. Never mind. It was entirely too long ago. But yeah, the reason I think our generation is pretty cool because we kept up with the software, we kept up with the technology. Many of us did. I'm really kind of a geek. And kids today are so brilliant and so bright because they were born with it, but we had to learn it. So don't leave us out.
But I think that's the other thing too with our generation. And this is something I've always told my kids. I don't care what you do in life, what your career is, your whatever. And not necessarily your career either with anything. Education never stops.
No.
You're always learning.
Yeah.
And I just read something the other day, this book I'm reading about Henry Ford. And I don't think he didn't finish school. I don't think
a lot of early people did not finish school.
Yeah. But what he said is if he didn't have the answers, he aligned himself with people that did.
Yeah.
So, and that's how you learn more and more.
Yeah.
So we already gave you a website. So before I get to my last question, because you got to come back on again. Like I said, there's a lot more I want to talk to you about.
I'll be happy to anytime.
Is there anything you would like to add before I get to my last question?
I think the only thing I ever really, really, really want to tell people is you're worth it. You are worth it. You can do this. A lot of women have this worthy thing. They don't think they're worthy enough to have a good life. And I'm here to tell you, you are worthy enough to have a life of happiness and have money in the bank and food at the table and a beautiful job and a beautiful place and a family and a relationship. This is your birthright. You weren't meant to live in a refrigerator box on the street. You are worthy enough to live a life of love. This is your birthright. And forgiveness is one of the paths that you can take to get there.
Those of you listening, when you purchase the book, and you can just go to Katharine's website, after you purchase the books, make sure you leave a full review, whether it be on Amazon, Goodreads, wherever you can leave reviews. And if you got something out of it, buy a copy for someone else as well, or buy several copies and pass them along because you're just helping other people. So, Katharine, besides writing the next book, what is the next big thing for Katharine Giovanni?
I think the next big thing is just, honest to God, to keep doing videos and getting the word out about forgiveness. This is the first book of 3, to be honest. So that's certainly in the future. So it's just, just getting the word out as fast as I can.
Well, you're doing it with all the podcasts you're getting on, that's for sure.
I think if I can, our world is broken. It's broken. Yeah. And this system is something that anybody can do, and you can do it in the privacy of your own home. You don't even have to tell anybody you're doing it. And that's why I'm trying to get the word out, to get people to understand that it is possible. And you don't even have to forgive the unforgivable. You don't even have to talk about it. Just forgive the people you'd rate between 1 and 8. Let's do that.
And just imagine if everybody followed this, that means everybody would be fixed and the world would be fixed.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Katharine, Huh?
I don't know if that's possible, but I will breathe that in for a little bit.
I don't know. Never say never.
There you go.
Katharine, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going.
This is Jordan Lally with the Ed Lally Foundation and the acoustic rock band Big Infinite, inviting you to a very special live music event at the Havre de Grace Opera House on May 23rd. We will be hosting not only a concert, but an experience of togetherness and connection for everyone in attendance. And all proceeds from this event go to benefit the Ed Lally Foundation's mental health and suicide prevention outreach. We would love for you to join us. For more details or to purchase tickets, visit edlallyfoundation.org or head over to the Havre de Grace Opera House website.